Hi, I'm Eileen Bild. I am with OTEL Talk, and today I have an amazing artist with me, and I can't wait to dive in and talk about her background and what got her started in her art and everything that's behind the meaning of what she does. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi, Eileen. I'm wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are welcome. And I feel blessed to be able to interview you today. And what we share is going to be a blessing on others as well. So, Kate is an artist from Maine whose passion for art began very young. Overcoming difficult obstacles changed her view on life and inspired Kate to create the Masterwork series, which is behind her. Kate had several surgeries starting at age 3 and learned early on that staying positive is fundamental in life. Being in a body cast often throughout childhood enabled a passion for art to grow in a unique environment, planting seeds that inspired this masterwork series. So throughout her content on her website, she has put a lot of quotes related to each of her paintings, and I just found it very interesting how she has included all of these particular well-known people and those who have been instrumental in the world of personal growth and development and causing us to really think about ourselves. So she's quoted Einstein and Aristotle, Buddha, Carl Jung, Isaac Upanishads, Pilasu, Nikola Tesla, Socrates, and Galileo, and I might have missed a few in between. But throughout this interview, we'll be uh, putting forth some of those quotes and in relation to the painting and that how that all uh, comes together to give you a good overview of this series that is truly amazing. So the master works are a series of paintings that embody various historical and philosophical references, in addition to psychological symbolism, to help shed light into the darkness of the mind, but coming into the light through that darkness for
Right.
self-discovery. So
Absolutely.
Kate, yeah, so Kate, I think I want to start with the journey, the beginning, and where in that beginning that you discovered that art could become a way of bringing that experience through you to empower and inspire.
Sure. Well, when I started the Masterwork series, I didn't know what I was doing. And the work I did before that, well, it didn't have really much to do with self-discovery, though I look back and of course it is part of the entire process as a whole. Um, but I went through a specific life event. So I'm born with a congenital abnormality in my hip. And throughout my childhood, I was in and out of body casts. And then, geez, forgive me about the years. Time goes by so fast and the ages. But I want to say between the years of around 2015 to 2018, I had a few more surgeries because my femur ended up stress fracturing around my hip replacement. So that's a pretty unique challenge to deal with. It wasn't really known in the medical field what to do. Well, my whole abnormality has been that way since birth, which also is why I say it planted unique seeds. Specifically, I've always done art on the floor because I've been in a body cast most of my childhood. So I'd have my arms available and I could create anything I wanted. So I think the seeds started there because now the last few surgeries I had didn't quite work out well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone back to that strength that I had as a child that I needed to survive. And my whole life is on the floor now. I live life kind of balanced on one leg, hence one of the major themes in the series is balance. That's something I've had to learn, not just mentally, but physically. I really understand how everything in the body is connected, and when just one little subtle thing doesn't work, man, it ricochets everything, and you've got to reroute and rework and integrate everything. And it wasn't until I had a very tough moment when I really was considering, I'll show you this real quick. At one point, I was considering amputation. And that's when I created this. I don't know if the light is glaring on it, but this is...
that's good. Yeah, can you bring it a little closer? Okay. It's a lion.
Right. So it's similar to the tarot card strength, but I was trying to muster up my own strength. And I did this before I started meditating. So it was almost a combination of finding the right doctor, which happens to be an osteopath, completely different mindset from a surgeon. Mm-hmm. Mind you, all of the medical care I've had has been wonderful, and people have really done their best, and I couldn't be grateful enough. But the doctor I have now is an osteopath, and he opened me up to meditation. And it was a correlation between that, being at my wit's end with pain and wondering, what am I going to do with the rest of my life if I can't be mobile? Hence why the rest of my body is so strong, and my leg gives... I use the rest of my body to move around. Sorry, I forgot where I was going.
You were just talking about the, that struggle of where you had to be.
Where it began, right. So it was that pivotal moment where I was at my wit's end. I couldn't take it anymore. And I'm sure other people have gone through these moments in their lives where you kind of just yell out, like, what do I do? I can't do this anymore. And that's when everything changed, along with the process of meditating. Things just really started opening up, and I realized I just have to do what my heart wants to do. So not knowing anything about masterwork series or balance or anything like that, I started with this painting. I just wanted to create something better than what I was doing. Maybe not better, but deeper, different, more intense. And George Stubbs' Horse Being Devoured by a Lion is an old master I'd always fallen in love with. And I thought, what better way to start this than to try to replicate in my own way a master that I'm inspired by. So that's where balance came from. And I named it Balance. Little did I know what the entire process would lead to and what it would end with. So that's how it began.
So I want to give 3 quotes right now that you have on your website. The aim of art is to represent not the outward appearance of things, but their inward significance. And that was by Aristotle. And that's kind of the basis, I think, of your artwork, and especially this series. Another one of his quotes, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. And I think that avenue, that journey of self-discovery is very important. And it's very, it's something that is so beneficial for people, but many don't know where to begin, or even if they're in the process of that journey, there's a lot of struggles. And I think you're
I mean, before this, I didn't know this existed. I had no idea. What?
right.
So I hates.
Right. And so it sounds like your struggles helped you awaken to tapping into that part of life itself. And so your way of helping others to step into that and understand this through this artwork. And in this interview, we're going to take people through that process of this master series that you have created. And then one more quote. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are, and you know what you want. And that's the lasso.
Powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful, all three of those. So I'm going to ask a question of why is shedding light into the darkness of the mind an important theme in your work?
I think it's an important thing, one, because there's not a lot of awareness to that. And there's not a lot of awareness to the magic and the I often struggle with language because I think that the series represents a lot of what's not in the mainstream and spiritual things that we don't necessarily have the language for. So I'll do my best. I'm sorry, what was the
You will
question?
do awesome, I'm sure. The question, let me read the question again because I put it on the floor. Why is shedding light into the darkness of the mind an important theme in your work?
Because it's in those parts where the scariest aspects of yourself are. But if you don't face them, you will never understand that real love and that real strength. I think strength is the same exact thing as love. I mean, to be strong, you have to have that self-love and love for other things and love to be strong. I mean, it's all hand in hand. But that's where those things are deep within the self. They're not on the outside, and they are certainly not way on the outside. I mean, you've got to journey way into the darkness.
And then when you go into that darkness, it's having the courage to face whatever's in that well to
Right.
be able to rise above it.
Right. And it's that process too of lighting your own fire and inspiring yourself. And that's your own light. You're using your own light to shed into your own darkness. It's like a simple math equation. It really, I don't know. Does that make sense?
I was going to say, I'm not sure I've heard it put it that way. Yeah, share your thoughts on that. I'd be curious to hear how it's
Okay, I
a
should
math
have done
equation.
like a rabbit hole, but sometimes
okay.
I think a lot about my work. You know, it came from my subconscious. So I try to understand this and relate it to the collective unconscious.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I find out that we complicate so many things when it turns out to be just simple math. It's like simple math. Why are we complicating and making this algebra, calculus? Like it's simple. I feel like we have to simplify things.
So your series is really from the beginning of where that darkness is in someone's life, possibly where they don't have that balance and they don't have that understanding of who they are.
I would also say a lack of understanding what ego is, because that's what I found out about my first painting, Balance, that the tiger was my personal ego, where the horse was, for say, my higher self. And when I painted this, I didn't understand what ego was, and this started that journey of understanding it. So.
Well, and the ego plays a big part in what we see and what we experience. And I know a lot of people say we got to get rid of the ego. but I feel the ego has its place and it has its purpose. We just have to learn how to work with it.
Integrate it.
Integrate it, yes.
Just like you do with your hardships, use it as a catalyst to grow stronger, to do better.
Absolutely. So you've talked a lot about strength. So what's the significance of strength, the symbol of strength in this series?
Well, I think, again, going back to this not being such a mainstream subject, I think strength is a foundational issue in humanity. And I think a lot of us are missing that strength because it also takes that type of strength to go deep within yourself and be honest. Honesty is also a key, and that takes strength. I mean, or love, if you want to say it, and its many forms. But yeah, I think it's a foundational issue. And if just each one of us started waking up our deep strength and realizing what we're actually capable of naturally, it just connects our pieces. It makes the world a better place. People start doing individually what they should be doing as their best self.
Well, and that's a great point, because for you having a disability or something that could have kept you in a place where you would not have discovered this innate gift and talent and skill that you have, that through the art is a form of bringing people something that they may not be able to bring to themselves. And yes, and so I think, well, I'd like to know, what have you learned about yourself in going through the awakening process?
Well, pretty much what I just said to you. I had no idea how strong I was. I mean, growing up with my disability, I've always been physically strong. I've had to overcompensate for what I couldn't use, but discovering not just myself, but I mean, we all have these strengths. It's a humanity strength. And how do I say this without sounding so crazy? I can almost have a vision of what humanity would be like if our minds weren't so tangled up. For example, like I have this dragon that's knotted and tangled up, and he's not as traditional, like a traditional Ouroboros, like the cycle of life, that simple. He's all tangled up with his tail, not eating it, but stuck. And that's what it feels like. Humanity feels like to me. We're stuck. Our minds are stuck. We're no longer looping. We're stuck. It needs to be changed. And strength can help that. It's a foundational issue. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so knotted up. Oh, I could explain that so much better.
No, you did great. It's almost like you feel there's a pivotal point that's ready to take humanity to another state of being, basically, where history doesn't repeat itself, and where we can evolve into that strength from within that brings the strength into the external as a global, universal way of connecting with each other. But first we have to connect with ourselves and the foundation, right? So
you always nail it. You're so eloquent. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I try to, when I talk with people, I pay attention to what they're saying, and I can tell, I'm trying to say, and then I have a way of being able to pull out what they're trying to say. So it's my pleasure to be able to do that. So the next Aristotle quote that you have is, the energy of the mind is the essence of life. And I love to talk about the essence of life, because I think people get caught up in life that they forget to live life. And for someone like you who's had to overcome really insurmountable obstacles, that you've learned to embrace life regardless of what, boulders have been put in front of you, and those boulders are now, gone, and you're bringing to life that essence of life.
Right.
So you want to share anything more?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I feel like my strength is strong enough now where I could never spiral downwards. I feel like my spiral is just constantly going up right now. But there was a time where, I can really understand people that spiral down, whether it's pain, disability, mental trauma. It's so easy to, especially the way our culture is in society. It's not like we have the greatest support systems out there, or truthful. Does that make sense? I don't know if there's a better word for that, but or awareness of the other things out there to help you heal, for lack of better. I'm reminded still every moment, because of course I'm happy, but I've integrated my pain. So I'm reminded all the time. But because of that, it's like living a constant paradox. And it gives a sense of measure, and it really gives that sense of feeling the essence of life. For example, you can't know true super happiness if you've never been super sad. How would you have something to measure that by? So for people like me with obstacles that I've gone through, I'd like to say to them, you have the best opportunity to turn that around. You could end up just being miserable, and to the point where, where we've all probably been at some points where you don't want to live. But I mean, for myself, I was at the point where I was worried my relationship was going to end. I have the best man ever. I've been with him, I want to say 17 years, for give or take. I mean, time flies, but who wants to be with somebody that wakes up miserable every day and that acts like they're in pain every day? I don't even want to do that. But the way society is, we get caught up in these cycles, and I just use pain as my own personal example, but it can be related to so many others. When you finally make that decision that I don't want to do this, understand it's going to be hard. But if you're honest, and that's also a challenge, that's all it takes. And that's where I can almost relate that metaphor of simple math again, because it sounds like such a complicated and intimidating thing. But once you start that journey and make that leap, you realize how it was not difficult at all. And now you are so much stronger. And now society and the images and the media and things around you no longer have that control over you. You have that control for yourself, to be the creator, to be the human. Now I forgot.
That's okay. Well, I was going to say it becomes almost like a beautiful magical symphony
Yeah.
of right of the dance of life. And
Yeah.
so I often, you know, um, refer the analogy of when you first come into contact with a partner to dance. It's a little clumsy, it's a little uncomfortable, a little scary. So if you think about the dance with life, um, practice and technique, and how you connect with the steps in a dance to be able to make it a beautiful magical moment. And I think life is the same way, and you with your art create a process of self-discovery that's like a dance for the person to be able to get to that final stage where you're triumphant. And I always reference Dancing with the Stars because I remember when I used to watch it, um, I noticed after a while there was a pattern of how people transitioned through the different stages as people were eliminated and other people moved forward. And those who moved forward, they always have a similar attitude and mindset. And each stage and step of moving forward made them stronger, right? Gave them more courage, gave them more confidence, so that by the time they were at the end, they were a different person than at the beginning. And that was just a simple dance show on TV. So imagine if you do that with life, right? How powerful that can be. So, can the paintings contextually stand on their own, or do you view them as a whole to understanding? If a person were to, observe your paintings and have one hanging on their wall and be able to stand there and look at it, what's the impact that you feel that one painting alone can have on them?
Sure, absolutely. I actually have a theory behind that. So they are a series, and as I started painting them, again, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't realize they were becoming a series. Um, so to see, it's like anything. So if you're reflecting on your life, you may reflect on one aspect, like when you went to kindergarten, or you could reflect on your entire schooling year process, or you could reflect on your entire childhood. So it's like that with the masterworks. But my theory behind it is, I think that if you're attracted to one of the paintings more than another, perhaps that's a part of the process you're working on, or there's something that you need to work on in that, or that's calling you to that, or that you've already worked on and it's telling you to recognize. I mean, just like any symbol, it can go multiple different ways. The magic behind it is to realize what it means to you, and I can't tell you that. Nobody can tell you that, but you can tell you that.
Absolutely. So I think I'd like to go through the different stages, um, because your art is a visual artistic representation of that process of self discovery. And you've outlined it on your website so beautifully. And I think if we could just take a few minutes and talk about each one conceptually, I think that would give people a good idea of what we've been talking about up to this point, and how important, not just empowering, but how important this artwork is, because I feel it's it's almost like the missing piece of what you were talking about earlier, that humanity is stuck. And so there's a missing piece to our puzzle to life of why we're stuck. And I think your artwork is a great representation of what that missing piece might be.
Strength, baby. We got to muster up that foundational strength to make it happen.
Absolutely. So the first part of this process, you say, is balance. And it's about exploring the mind as an exploration into balance. And Isa Upanishads, I hope I said that right, has a quote. I know. The quote you say is, "Who sees all beings in his own self, and his own self in all beings loses all fear." And I think some of why people are stuck is the fear
Right.
of loss, the fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of
And
how people are going to,
other.
right, how's other people going to think about me,
Yeah. So
and all of that. So your balance painting does what? Or your paintings in that step?
okay, well, I think this will do for others what it did for me. And that was, I thought I knew what balance was before I really took a point to look at balance. And then I really understood what it is. And balance is not something you can work on until you understand what it is. And then you can take action towards it. So that's what the first one is. I mean, there's no recognition of balance here. We have a white horse and a tiger attacking each other. It's pretty imbalanced. Yeah, so.
Well, and I think I no, that's great. I know you did great. I think people don't know what they need to balance in their life. They know they're not balanced, but they don't know, well, what do I need to do? And I often think of a stool with three legs. If one leg is gone, the stool cannot sustain itself. So,
Right.
I think perhaps looking at a piece of art that represents balance could help someone identify, well, what's that missing leg that's on my stool of the balance in my life. So then the next, oh, you can say something?
Yeah, I'd like to ask people with this one which they feel like. Do they feel like they're the tiger or the horse? Do they feel
Can
like
you
they're
hold it closer so they can see it?
um, I don't know if there's a glare on it.
No, no,
Um,
it's perfect. That's good. Okay,
yeah,
we can
I
see
like
it.
to ask people that's why that quote is so nice under it, because underneath it, in the end of the process, you realize no matter what you thought you were, you can see a reflection of yourself in everything.
Right.
So the answer to that one kind of in it. I don't
Oh,
know.
absolutely. Absolutely. So then the next one, so once we gain balance, then we come into a state of revival. So now you're going to start feeling better. And in the search for balance, fear, you're facing that fear to gain that strength and you're reviving that mind. So I like to say it's mind body balance or
Right.
mind body spirit balance. Facing the fear of the unknown reveals deep, great value behind the curtains of the mind. So I like to say, we always wear those masks, and so we have to take those masks off. And then if you take the mask off, what will you find? A lot of people are afraid to see what's behind that mask. So you quote Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So share your thoughts on that quote.
Well, I think it is a wonderful quote. It's my favorite quote. In fact, I have it on my business cards up here.
Okay.
I think it is so true because it has to do with everything. So the unconscious, you could say, is the darkness of your mind, perhaps your shadow self, perhaps your own demons, whatever you want to label it. Until you go and face that, you don't know it. So
You feel
how
it,
can you fix
it's there,
it?
right?
Right, but just you're like, no. Well, what happens when you push it away? It builds up, and it knots up. Hence what humanity has done. We've pushed all this stuff away collectively. I mean, it makes perfect sense why we're
It
in the condition we are now. Um, so yeah, and okay, so I'll bring it up a little bit. This one actually, I hadn't come on my own really thoughts of what the rest of the series would be like. Again, in this moment, I didn't know I was painting a series. So for this one, there's another famous master, Henry Fuseli, and he painted a painting called Nightmare. And this is my
version.
revival. Right. I took his Nightmare and I created a revival. Um, so of course we have the figure here, and like you were saying with the mask, I don't know if you can really tell, but she doesn't have a face. It was important to me that there was no specific facial features, and that the cosmos was coming right out of her mind, because what does
Oh,
that quote say? So, but then we've got the shadow, fear. I like to call this guy fear, but others will see him as something else. Where is it? It's right on top of your heart, right on top of your chest. What do you need? Where's that strength and love? That's right where your heart is. Both those things have to work together in order to grow and break free. And to me, the rainbow represents balance, because if you think about the energy system and the chakras, and so
I love it.
so
Love it. So
thank
then, so now we're free, which brings us to the next stage in your series of transcend. Facing fear
right.
empowers the mind to transcend. So now we let go. And when we let go, it's like liberating. It's a liberating experience. And you say, like in a critical stage in a butterfly's life, which is the metamorphosis and coming out of that chrysalis, transcend depicts a major transformation that takes place. In an alien landscape, there's an intense feeling of detachment from society as a figure separates from the web of elusive elusive concepts. The figure displays stress while striving for freedom, is blind to the warm glow, to that light that's melting the web. In the battle of clearing the mind, it's a challenge to be released from the cocoon's grip, but a vital one. And I think that goes back to what, yes, and beautiful words, beautiful imagery. And I think if people can sit with that and really think about where we are in the world today, that collective, universal grip that has so many people in fear and uncertainty. But if they can let it go and really find that ability to transcend, a whole nother world's going to open up.
Right. I mean, it's okay to be uncertain. I think we have to know everything, and we have to be scheduled, and we have to know how our mind's going to work. And no, it's okay to be uncertain. In fact, I mean, if you think about what's one of the biggest open-ended science questions, what is consciousness, of course, but then, what's beyond, there's almost a point where we can't know. So in the metaphors, as above, so below, take that within yourself on a smaller scale. It's okay to be uncertain. That's okay. If you find it out, great. If you don't, move on to something else. Most likely, if you're uncertain about it, it's not a top priority you should be considering within yourself or what you're doing outside of yourself. I don't know.
I agree with that. I agree. And I think letting go of the uncertainty and just living life, going back to that essence of life, which brings us to your next one, which is the forgotten infrastructure.
Right.
So the next level is when the mind begins to clear and the knowledge from looking within is clear, then the opportunities start to present itself and wake up that strength, that courage, the confidence. And then things become even more clear. So again, you quote Carl Jung, your visions will become clearer only when you can look into your heart. So I think a lot of people are in their head these days. And to drop into your heart brings you into a totally different way of being. Mm-hmm. So who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes? And I love that.
Me too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So this one actually has a lot to do with meditation. This is when I really started understanding that my pain relief was not going to come from the outside, especially in my unique condition. And I had to learn how to integrate that and work it in. And the only way I was going to do that was through the hard work of meditation. So we have I don't know about the glare.
No, she's good. She's good.
But the thing is, we have the tree of life here. And what does the tree of life usually represent? Well, the essence of life, the life around us. Well, our lion, our strength, our light, the glowing golden light down on him with, of course, the flowing water of knowledge, is sleeping. So you can't use any of that if it's sleeping. And you don't know it's sleeping unless you look within, because most people don't even know this is in them. But it's in everybody. We're all made of the same stuff, stardust,
Right, I love it.
That one.
Yeah, excellent. So we become aware of that strength within, and then all of a sudden we realize limitless life.
Yes, absolutely.
There are no limits.
Like, where do I begin? My goodness, right?
Right.
So I don't know if I can really take this painting down.
That's okay. That's okay.
But the place to begin is to blank out your canvas, because you've got all these old things bombarding you with what you used to be. But you are a blank canvas. You are anything. You don't need to hold on to these things that you think you are or that others think you are. You don't know yourself, then this is the perfect part of the process to really let go of everything, be the most uncertain you've ever been in your whole life, and just shut down and listen. The more quiet you are, the how do I say?
I like to say the louder it becomes.
But it's not just loud, it's the correct things, or the passion thing, the things from your heart, the things that as your individual human soul self, again, I'm not good with these words. What you should.
Yeah, you hear more of the truth. You hear more of the truth. not what
Right.
somebody else's truth might be.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. So Michelangelo quote goes with this one. Your gifts lie in the place where your values, passions, and strengths meet. Discovering that place is the first step toward sculpting your masterpiece and your life. And I've seen Michelangelo's painting in Italy, and it is amazing. It's just phenomenal.
I will someday. I definitely will.
Yeah, you'll have to. It's pretty amazing. So now we've got that outlook on life that things are limitless and we're not limited by anything but ourselves. But now we've
Right.
removed that limitation.
Right. Well, in our minds, so we have to put action towards it, right? Because it's all
Right.
a process. And here's another thing we tend to get frustrated with ourselves with is timing. We want things right here, right now. If we had everything we wanted right here, right now, that would be no life. Life, the entire life is the process. So be easy on yourself, and that's something I'm constantly telling myself because I think I just think it's a human aspect to always want, you know, um, okay, so in limitless life, we have to start putting that action in. So that's when things start coming out of the shadows. And I've already explained this dragon earlier. You can recognize, and well, these two go together. So we've got the lion, the strength, the light, looking at the self. And they're discussing, what are we going to do here? Well, she's already blanking out her canvas. And in the next part, we have which in this paintbrush, she's actually got a new universe. So in a sense, we use that as a metaphor for creating a whole new world within yourself, but that also connects to the outer world. So we've got transformed creation happening because when you put action, you're literally transforming creation, not just for you again, but for the entire collective humanity, earth, everything that goes along with it. So we've got the lion taking the tail out of the dragon's mouth. And that is what breaks the cycle. But another important piece in this painting is that we've got the phoenix here. And the dragon is actually under the shadow of one of the wings. So there's that saying that you're under somebody's wing, or something like that. I don't know. I think that. But anyways, we're breaking the cycle here. And what happens when you break the cycle? Oh my goodness. Well, that's when the phoenix rises. You're not going to repeat it anymore. You've started something new, created a new pattern even.
Well, what comes to mind for me is that when we change the inner world, the outer world changes. And I think
Absolutely.
for people who understand that, they can recognize when that happens. But if no one's ever experienced it, they they won't know what it feels like and looks like because
Right.
they just think the world is happening to them, but really it's happening through you. And I think your art really expresses and teaches how that process works and that it's really through us and it comes from the inside out versus outside in. So Carl Young again, I'm not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. The phoenix
That's right.
rising. Yes, everything goes except for the phoenix who rises above to create anew. And I love this Albert. I've never seen this Albert Einstein quote, so I want to share it. No, I usually see the shorter ones, but
You
um,
know, can I just say
no, go
something
ahead.
real quick?
Yes.
When I was looking for quotes for the paintings, again, I didn't know what I was doing. So I would slowly come to something that made sense for the painting for me. And I started seeing this story come before my eyes. So I didn't really consciously know what I was doing, but I didn't know that all of these people I've quoted from were spiritual.
Oh,
No, I wasn't aware. So now it's just like, oh, wow, this exists. I don't know.
it makes sense. Yeah. So, well, you did an excellent job. So you allowed it to come through you and connect, and it's perfect. So this is Albert Einstein's quote. A human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion, to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. I mean, that sums it up
Much,
perfectly,
Jill.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which then leads to your next stage in the development, is the deep-rooted healing. So now we've released and we've come into our strength and courage, and so now we're coming into that deeper root, that deeper, what I call the blueprint, the core of who we are.
hmm Yeah, the undercore, the matrix, if you will.
Yes.
Okay, so in this one, so what was the last one? We've got that. In this one, you're doing the action work on the outside in this one to create your new. But this one's about creating that new within your mind. So here we have the pillars, but they're opposite. They're what
Yin
is it?
yang.
Right, a traditional symbology too. Usually, the feminine is on the opposite side, and the conscious or the masculine is on the opposite side. But this is looking within, so it's an inversion. So there's little tricks going on here. And if you look at the play between the white birch and the unicorn, we could say that this is actually the white pillar. So we've got actually 4 pillars going on here, because in this section, the lions got nocturnalized, but this pillar here is the shadow pillar against the consciousness. So we've got the hand coming out of the unconscious side, the feminine aspects of life, and I think it's no secret within I don't know if I want to spiritual communities, or that the feminine parts of humanity need help. Is that safe to say?
Of course.
So I think that's what this means, but this is doing this within our mind. And of course, it's close to the lady slipper, and the lady slipper symbolizes finding your path in life and following that. And when you find that, of course, it's close to the concept of unity, because when you see this, it all connects, and you see humanity, no more human, you see humanity.
Oh, I love that.
And of course, the lion's over here protecting the shadow side, being strong, doing his thing, So that's pretty much about deep-rooted healing.
Yeah, I
so
love
we've
that.
got the
You
outside action happening here, inside action happening here.
got it. Got it. So you quoted Buddha for this one. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. And I'm a big proponent about that. Nothing happens until we have a thought, right? The mind is everything, and what we think we become. And it goes back to, going inward, and it's the inner that reflects on the outer. You say deep in the forest of the mind, there's a place where the lady slipper grows. And the lady slipper is an ancient symbol for finding one's path in life. It leads to finding that subconscious strength, balance, and a piece to humanity's puzzle, which we talked about earlier. That, your art, I believe, is the piece of that humanity's puzzle. The lady slipper is close to the unicorn, and that represents unity. And I think in today's day and age, people are like craving that unity because we've been so torn apart.
Absolutely. And I think that even there's people craving it unconsciously, not realizing. So it's lashing out in different forms. They don't even know, I just want to be human.
Right. And be able to live life in its full essence, not controlled or compressed or suppressed. So the process of finding our pieces naturally unites our puzzle. And I think the message in your paintings and what we're talking about today is, in order to get to that point, we must look at the opportunity to go through that process. We don't have to, but I think it would enable people to have a more joyful, passionate life.
Right.
And, that that subconscious part of us, what I call the inner compass, can come to the surface and we be more conscious and aware of it. So that next stage for you is the subconscious strength. The power of humanity's collective mind changes the world. So I would like to think that my contribution through my interviews with people like you
Ah,
and the other things that we each individually are contributing does change the world in small ways, but collectively makes a larger or brings a larger impact. Um, so the author unknown quote that you have with this last this section, a large
yeah.
a large essence opens the weak by its weight and strength, and the small affects the large by its delicacy and kindness. Which I had to read that sentence a few times when I saw it. Well,
I did
because,
too, but
right?
gosh, it's for the painting.
Yeah, I'm going to read it one more time just for the readers, or the listeners, the watchers, whoever's watching this. A large essence opposes the weak by its weight and strength. The small affects the large by its delicacy and kindness. And I would like to think that your paintings and your message is that delicate and kindness that will have a huge impact on the large. For instance, you're welcome. A snake kills large animals, and in the same manner, small and tiny ants and large numbers can kill strong snakes. So
Okay.
reflect on, yeah. So we encourage you who's watching this and listening to reflect on this, because I think it's very important to realize that, a lot of people feel small. A lot of people feel insignificant, that they don't have that power to have an impact. And this message or this quote gives us the message that the more of us that come together, the stronger we become over that one that thinks they're strong and powerful.
Got
You get it,
chills.
girls.
Baby. Go, Eileen.
Go, yes. So, anything you want to add to that for your artwork?
Yes, one thing that I feel like this is the perfect platform to say it. I didn't put it on my website because I don't really go into chakras, because that's something I personally don't understand myself. I have intuitive feelings, but specifically in this painting, the snake's tongues, if you notice, they're a reddish,
Yes.
and they're entwined together, and that is supposed to represent the lowest chakra, our security system. So if you can kind of metaphorically, I don't want to give too much away, but our sense of security is locked down here, and unless you rise above that type of energy,
You're not going to feel
yeah.
secure. You're not going to feel safe. I mean, a lot of people don't feel safe in today's world, rightfully so. There's a lot that is happening. And I even was talking with my husband the other day how when we had that pause and nobody was on the streets and everybody was secluded, there was nothing happening. Beauty started to surface. And
Right.
so I think the analogy to what we're talking about today to that is, again, go inward, go into that
Yeah.
pause inward, because that chaos and the drama that has now come back to the surface, I think almost worse than before the pause, can be eliminated if you just go inward and do this process, go through that process of self-discovery. Then you're not in that chaotic state. And so
You're not getting anymore, no energy. You're focusing on you, and who deserves that focus? You do.
exactly. Which
Don't be
goes,
hard
yeah, which leads to the last stage, which is the omnipresence. And Nikola Tesla, you quoted in Socrates and Galileo. So I'm going to read all three of these. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all previous centuries of existence. And I think that is beginning to happen more. Science and spirituality is starting to blend together. And then Socrates, to find yourself, think for yourself.
Mm.
And then
So simple.
Galileo, yes, Galileo, you cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him discover it within himself. So, in this last part of your series, what would you like to share?
Well, okay. Well, first, I think that last quote is important because I think a lot of people are out there looking for quick fixes and healings, and honestly, you've got to heal that self from within. You can have others help you with catalyst and almost. I have a dear friend in Germany. Her name is Amiko, and she had said to me, "You can be the lighthouse. You can shine that light, but it's up to others to use that light." So I think that's important with that Galileo quote that, you've got to do that work for your, that hard work and strength for your, yeah, okay, now I'm like messing up my words because I'm starting to think about this part. All right. So this piece I'm very proud of. As a side note, it is the biggest canvas I've ever painted. So that was quite a challenge. And also, I told my man when we got it, I said, you have to drill a hole into the canvas. And he was like, what do you mean? I'll show you what I mean. So it's a two-piece piece diptych. And together, it is called omnipresence. Separate, the large one is called tainted. And here, I don't know if you could really tell, but it is an all-seeing eye symbol. So it's being sucked into the portal. So if you could imagine that eye maybe not looking like it's getting sucked in, it would have the triangle shape and the rays coming behind it. Now, and this is just my thinking and my theory behind this one. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I feel like out of all the symbols, the all-seeing eye perhaps has been the most tainted. So, I mean, for example, it's on the back of our dollar bill, and I just feel like a symbol like that should not coincide with money or material items. So we have tainted here, but it's getting sucked into this strange portal going on. I can see over here. This piece is called Pure Intentions. And what's tainted is transformed when pure intentions are literally placed within it. So I place the painting within. Oops. Make sure it's lined up properly. I'm not sure if it's lined up properly. Here we go. And then we have omnipresence.
I love that. That's so cool.
So once pure intentions are placed within, you get that sense of, again, don't quote me on the definitions of omnipresence, but you really get a totality, a sense of totality in a big picture and what you can do about it. And I mean, you are human, you can create any world you want. And that's really what the main message is about this one, being human. And we have the earth in the center of the pupil because, it's our home. We've got to take care of that. It's us.
Well, and at this point, your last section is balanced. The last stage of the process is balanced. And that's where everything comes together, where you now have that third piece of the stool and the piece of the puzzle. And it's unique to each individual's best self, But I think that even having gone through the process, now you're refining it and building on it. And so it never ends, that personal development and growth and self-discovery has a lot of levels and layers. And
that's exactly what this one means. You just helped me realize that, because with the portal, you have that sense of depth, that never-ending depth. So though we're creating a new world, this is not the end. Balance is not the end. It's just a key in the equation.
Well, it's a new beginning, what I like to say, right? It's a new beginning. And it tells the story, but now the story unfolds in a new way.
Now we can write a new story. with a
Exactly.
whole new.
A whole new foundation. Yes, yes. So this has been really awesome. I'd love to have gone through, your interpretation and your vision of what it means to go from a dark place to a place of growth and strength and confidence and a new story, because we all have a story. We all have
Right.
something we've been through, and you've had a tremendous story to tell, and I appreciate you sharing that today. How can people find you?
Well, I'm not very social media based, but when the series is complete, I do hope to have a few books coming out with it. And these paintings will end up in a space where everybody can freely go and see them. Eventually, I'll have some nice prints available with metallic, try to match the colors as perfect as possible. But the series is meant for everybody and anybody open to wanting to heal in this way. Um, but the best way, the best way to find me, I think, is through my website, which is katetheartist11.com, because it's on there that the paintings are paired with the quotes, and I think it's really important to read the quotes with them. And I'm also on LinkedIn. Yes.
And how can they find you on LinkedIn? What do they need to type in?
Oh, Kate the Artist.
Okay, all right. I wanted to make sure that they had the right wording. And a question, I don't know if you've been asked, and I've been guided to ask you, uh, have you ever, or would you be open to commissioned paintings? So if someone says, I know I'm at this level, but I'd like something, that's reflective of me.
Yes. I hope so in the future. So when I started the Masterwork series, my doctor commissioned a really nice piece for me, and he told me, finish your series first. Well, this is ongoing 4 years. So
Oh.
his piece.
Well, you may need to pick that up, because I'm sure after people watch this, you're going to get a lot of calls, so a lot of emails.
Oh my God. So just these paintings take months. They take months to complete. Like this one that I'm currently on right now, I put in 143 hours so far.
Oh,
and
wow.
there's a lot to go. And just quickly, in the beginning of the series, we have the horse and the tiger attacking. I don't know if you can tell, but the horse and the tiger are actually drinking from the stream that the unicorn is purifying. But we'll go over another time.
Well, let's put it this way. If you're open to a waiting list, we can encourage people to message you if they want to get in line to get a commission piece.
Oh, thank you. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much.
You're welcome.
I'm so grateful we are connected.
Well, it's been an honor to talk to you today and kind of pick your brain on the messaging and the spirit behind your artwork and you. And I look forward to maybe having another conversation as your series continues, and we can continue that process.
Sure, I'd love it. Thank you so much, Aileen.
You are welcome, and we will be back in touch for sure.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.